Okay, fam, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over the buy, sells, and dividends. I don't know what that is. So yeah, anyways, the buy, sells, and dividends from March 2nd to the 8th. So with that being said, let's get it. All right, so just want to give you guys a heads up. We will be doing the macro video tomorrow. I know it's a little bit late in the month. We're going to go over the month of February. Again, this is every time we do a macro video, it's always looking back a month to take a look at the history to kind of basically what we're doing is we're trying to take a look at historical data to give us an indication of where things are likely to go. So anyways, let's get into it. So we got the dividends here on M1 Finance. We'll start at the bottom. PFLT 4 cents, PDI 25.92, Enbridge 2 cents, RYLD we have a combination here of 114 and 752. BTO 9 cents and TLTW $2.13. Just my opinion, of course, but I do think TLTW is actually a good one to pick up for dividend income. Reason being is because bond price and bond yields have an inverse correlation. And at this point in the Fed hiking, halting, cutting cycle, we're getting closer to the cuts and we're further away from the hikes, in my opinion. So when the Fed does eventually cut, the yields will come down on bonds and the prices will go up, which means that if you were to buy now before the price of bonds go up, you would basically get all this extra income at dirt cheap prices on the shares. What I'm basically saying here is that when the Fed cuts rates, TLTW should go up in price, which means it's going to be more expensive to get more shares and more income for less money. Okay, so with that being said, total dividends here are $36.86. Now going over to the Robinhood platform. I'm going to start with this. So all the puts that we did this week on TSLA, we did get assigned on every single one of them. It was a total of 300 shares. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the dividends that we got was $94.93 from SPYT. Triple QT, which we only have a handful of shares in. It's not that many yet. $1.85 on that one. Coney, $242.52. YMAG, $36.60. YMAX, $65.52. XTTE 3 cents, RDTE 4 cents, QDTE 1702, GPIC 34 cents, GPIX 34 cents, and GPIC with a Q $4.57. The NASDAQ version, the GPIC, that's the one that we've been picking up this week, so we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's go through these real quick. I do still think crypto has the potential to go up this year. The question of whether we're going to get that final third green year or not, I mean, it's a little bit questionable at this point. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but it's hard to say at this point. We got to wait and see what the Fed's going to do. The dollar is coming down, which is a good sign. Yields are coming down, which is a good sign, but we still need the Fed funds rate to also come down to incentivize smart money and investors in general to want to take on more of the higher risk, more speculative assets. So 23 hours ago, you can see here Coney 242.52. We'll go over these one by one just so you guys can see them all. So next one, let's see, next one on the list, we'll do SPYT. That's actually at the top here. So SPYT, we loaded this one a long time ago, so we're just kind of sitting on it now. It's $94.93. We may buy more at some point, but we want to see if this thing's going to make a comeback from the current dip. Again, the SPYT, triple QT, they should theoretically sit somewhere around $20 a share. The ETF is not really designed to give price appreciation. It's designed to kind of stay flat over time and pay out consistent dividends. As you can see here, it kind of does. Well, this one doesn't sit exactly around 20. It's more so SPYT that does, but it does kind of sit around the same price more or less over time. So you can see that there. But yeah, anyways, got a few shares here. So $1.85. Bought some of those shares last month because, the market was down and we were just like, well, why not? I mean, it's cheap, right? Get more income for less money as the market drops, and then the market just kept on dropping, so we just kept buying more. So yeah, anyways, like I said, it's a dividend investor's dream when the markets go down because that means they get extremely large amounts of income. Well, depending on how much money you have, you get more income for less money. In some cases, it can be a lot more income for less money. Okay, so YMAG 3660 here. Next one we're going to go over is YMAX. The performance on these haven't been great, but I do suspect that we're going to get a pretty strong recovery when the markets do eventually go back up. When exactly that's going to be is very difficult to say at this point. We'll talk about that more in the macro video tomorrow. So 65.52 on YMAX. XDT and RDTE, I'm not going to show you guys that. I mean, I could, but I mean, it's such a negligent amount. It's almost not worth talking about. You can see we have 0.19 shares here, and then RDTE 0.24 shares. So it's not really even a large position. So there's really no need for us to go over this yet. So I would say the same thing about GPIX, but we've already had this one for a while, so might as well cover it. GPIX here, 34 cents. We could actually load the boat on this one right now too as well. Because again, it hasn't really dropped nearly as much as GPIC, but it's still relatively cheap. You can see the drops. The price tends to go up over time, and the drops are relatively rare. They don't happen that often. So just something to keep in mind. The last one we'll go over here is GPIC. I'm also going to cover this one with you guys because we got dividends, and we also have been buying this week. You can see the share count here has increased. It's over 20 shares now. Excuse me. So you can see, similar to GPIX, this one does generally go up over time. I mean, it started out at $38, if you can imagine that. This thing at the listing price was only $39. Now it's on a discount, it's at $47. So it's from time of inception until now, it's still up $9 a share. I mean, that's huge. So yeah, the same thing as GPIX. This thing rarely has dips, and when it does, it's a pretty good opportunity to buy. As you guys can see, the dividends are good. The price appreciation is good. It's a solid, over the last couple of years, it's been a solid all-around performer. The reason why we bought this one on the dip, and we're probably only going to continue to buy this one on the dip as it dips in time going forward, is because, and again, I'm not trying to signal any moves here, but it just makes sense because the price should theoretically go up over time. I mean, by the next time we buy this, these shares could be at like $60 or $65 a share. So 20 shares here, you can see we're actually in the green, even though the markets are down because of the timing of this. So I'm going to show you guys right now the dividends as well as the buys. So we got 2.12 shares on the 5th, 2.13 on the 6th, 1.08 again on the 6th, 4.32 on the 7th, and then $4.57 within the last 24 hours. So the current the future forward projections on the dividends on these should be like around $10 a month, but obviously we haven't gotten paid that yet. So anyways, so that flips us over into the buys. So we already went over GPIC. Now I'm going to go over AIPI, which is the next one. Again, told you guys that the goal here is for every position that we have to get it to at least $50 a month of passive income. Well, we went over what. Let me actually pull up another calculator here so you guys can see this. We went over what the dividend declarations were for the previous month. It was like around, whoops, that's the share price. So it was around like $1.35 for AIPI, and it was a lot less for FEPI. Well, we have a lot of shares of FEPI, so not too concerned about that. So we kind of just did the math based on the share count times the most recent distribution, and that's put us over $50 a month. So anyways, you can see the share count here. We have been buying quite a bit, 46.41 average cost. We're down 8%, not a big deal. I mean, it's less than the market itself is down. So that's actually a win in my book, if you ask me. And we've gotten a lot of dividends on this over the past. So yeah, anyways, 2.28 shares here on the 3rd, 1.14 on the 3rd. 3.47 on the 4th, another share on the 4th, another share on the 4th, and then we just kind of capped it there and went over to GPIC after that point. All right, so we went over the dividends and the buys. So the dividends on Robinhood totaled out to $463.42. Now we're going to go over TSLL, and I'm going to go over the charts, and then we'll go over the options plays, okay? So this TSLL put right here, we opened right before the close on Friday. I told you guys about the weekend trick. Basically, if you do a cover call or cash secured put on Friday right before the close or anytime on Friday, the theta decay will eat away at the value of the contract over the course of the weekend, depending on the direction of the market, making it easier to buy back the contract for profit. Basically, it costs less to buy the contract back on Monday or in the following days if that's what you want to do. Okay. So there's that. So let's go over the TSLO. So we currently have 700 shares total here. You can see we're still down quite a bit. I mean, I think Tesla is probably getting pretty close to a bottom at this point. It's looking pretty disgusting. I'm not going to lie. We'll talk about that in a minute. Average cost here, $14.96. You can see, we'll pop these open for you. You can see all the different stuff we got going on here. So we got basically a sell put here, sell put here, sell put here, assignment and assignment. That, of course, was on Friday. Roughly about 8:30 p.m. our time when the OCC actually processes all the stuff, and then $41 in premiums, the sell put that we did on Friday right before the close. Okay, so starting it out here, so we got TSLL opening date, and these are all cash secured puts, by the way. March 3rd, closing date March 7th, $52 times one contract. The strikes on these vary. So we had a 12, an 11, 10, 10, and 950 for TSLL, and for Soxel, which we'll talk about in a minute, that was a 20. Those are the strike prices. So Soxel 3.3, and then the exit date was 3.7. We managed to close this one out for pennies on the dollar because Soxel was going up. Again, if you have a cash secured put and the price of the underlying whatever it is going up, then that actually reduces the value of the contract, making it much easier to buy back and keep most of the profit, essentially. So $63 times one contract, it costs us $4 to close, so effectively $59. TSLL 3.4 open, 3.7 close. We got assigned 44 times one contract, 3.6, 3.14 close. Wait a minute. So I think a few of these are actually supposed to be on the 7th. We must have miscalculated this. So anyways, one of these are on the 14th and the other two are going to be on the 7th. So we got 3.7, 45 times one contract, and then again open on 3.6. Should be closing on 3.7, 51 times one contract, and then opening on the 7th, which was yesterday. That was the one I told you about. Closing next Friday on the 14th, $41 times one contracts. So the total for the premiums for the week comes out to $292. Again, we didn't put everything we have in the market, but that's because we're not entirely sure if the market's done selling off yet. We need to see some very clear indication of a reversal sign, which we'll talk about tomorrow. So the total for the week comes out to $792.28. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about here before we close this video out is Tesla itself, okay? And reason being is because we have a large position on it. Oh, and I do also want to show you guys, I take that back, there's two more things. So I wanted to show you guys the overall portfolio and what it looks like here. So you can see all we still have the Riot position and the TSLL. So everything pretty much looks the same. We just... obviously, we don't have CLSK anymore. We still have AMC. We got all these other positions. You can see SPYT, AIPI. These new positions, we kind of just put a little bit of money into. We upped the ante on GPIC, more shares on TSLL, all these other ones. We still have all the swing trades. And yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for the portfolio here as of right now. Okay, so let's take a look at TSLA and TSLL. It does appear maybe that, and again, these weekly candles don't convince me because you have wicks to the downside, but it just keeps going down, so I'm not fully convinced yet. But you can see on the RSI, this thing is getting pretty massively beat down. I mean, it's pretty disgusting at this point. We've literally entered bear territory. We're about to enter bear territory on the weekly. What I will say here is that the daily is oversold. Okay, we are filling this gap here between 255 to 275. There's one more down here between 220 to 240. I'm not sure if that's going to get filled or not. That's part of the reason why I'm saying I'm not sure if the markets have actually bottomed out yet, is because, you know, obviously Tesla has a major weighting in the NASDAQ and the S&P, right? So that kind of matters for the indices. 4-hourly time frame, massively oversold here. There's a potential for a bullish divergence that has yet to be seen if it's going to play out or not. What I will say is that Tesla is down massive. Peak to trough was down nearly 49% since this recent high. I mean, last time we saw any kind of major pullback like this, it usually led to some pretty massive upside. So this one right here, down about 30%. That's actually less than what we're experiencing right now. This one down here, about 20%. And obviously the rest was history, right? So there's that to keep in mind, that Tesla itself and TSLL are extremely, extremely cheap right now. Keep in mind, TSLL is a leveraged Tesla play. So it's much more volatile. This one's actually down much more, which is why we're basically piling on. I don't want to say loading the boat at this point, but we're getting pretty close to that point. So 77% down here from the recent all-time high of 40, whatever that is, 41, 42 bucks. I don't know if this is the actual all-time high. It appears to be so. So anyways, we got the oversold on the 4-hourly time frame here. Again, every time we get one of these, eventually it does ultimately go higher. That hasn't been the case this time, but again, it's been oversold for some time. There is a gap there. Obviously, that already got filled, so that's no longer a concern, right? And the daily time frame here, again, gap got filled. This trend line got obliterated. So the daily is also massively oversold. Again, the idea is to buy when it's oversold and sell when it's overbought. That's exactly what we're doing. You guys are seeing that. The daily time frame is it's looking like it's slowing down, maybe. But again, even on the weekly, we're about to get oversold on the weekly, which is just insane. I mean, this thing has been getting absolutely brutalized. I will be honest with y'all. I think, and this is just my opinion, I could be absolutely wrong about this. I'd be willing to admit if I was wrong. But I think out of all of the Mag 7 stocks right now, personal opinion, okay? Not financial advice, but I think out of all of the Mag 7 stocks right now, the cheapest one by a long shot, in my opinion, is going to have to be Tesla. I mean, Tesla, you can see all these other ones are holding up pretty well. Netflix, Meta, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, even Nvidia, even though it is down, it's really not down that much, right? And Tesla, well, okay, 30%. That's a lot, but Tesla's still down more. And Tesla is kind of a wild child. We all know this, but I mean, just look at the chart, dude. Most of these things are either going sideways, chopping in a range, or just coming off their highs. Whereas Tesla has gotten absolutely destroyed, essentially, and that's usually when people want to be buying. Smart money buys when there's blood in the streets. So I just wanted to show you all that so you can see it. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.